to show us how it will
Now, I'm going to speak on this particular subject tomorrow, inshallah, during my sermon. So I won't elaborate on this point here now.
Assalamualaikum.
Yes, please.
Assalamualaikum, Hazrat. According to the Islamic law of inheritance, if a son dies before his father, his children are not entitled to his share of inheritance. Hazrat, this seems very sad because the children not only become orphans, but are also deprived financially.
Yes, I got to this question all right. Now I'll answer that. The point is, you are showing pity to the grandsons of a grandfather, while you also assume that that grandfather had no pity for his grandsons. That is exactly, in a nutshell, the position of the whole case. If somebody's son has died in his lifetime, and he has left behind, that dying son has left behind a few children, what stops that grandfather from giving, willing or actually distributing part of his property to the bereaved family of his own son? If he has no pity, what right do you have to show pity on them? That shows that Islam leaves the decision in the hands of the competent person, the person who is the owner of a property. He is the competent person, and he is most closely related to his dying son. If it's a question of natural pity, he is the person who must entertain that pity, and Islam does not prevent him. This is the wrong impression by many others, apart from you, I mean. Islam does not prevent a grandfather to will his property to his grandsons. Nowhere it does so. Why Islam does not transfer automatically the right of inheritance of that dying son to his children is a matter of principle. And that principle cannot be sacrificed. The principle is this, that when somebody is alive, his property belongs to him, and his children have no right by themselves to interfere or appropriate that property in any way. While I live, my property is my property. That is not the property of my children. So if a son dies in my presence, I am quoting an example, then he has died without property, because he died before he had inherited the property. So if you, out of pity, change this, you change the whole principle, and that would mean that entire jurisprudence would have to be changed accordingly, and a right would be established for every living son or daughter over the property of his or her father, and the entire system would be destroyed. So Islam is a religion of principles, yet it leaves doors open for occasions of pity and consideration, on compassionate grounds. So it is the grandfather himself who has primarily to will a portion of that property to his grandsons and granddaughters, not a third person. Yes, please. What is it?
It's not a question, but a very humble request if you could kindly explain the meanings of the following. Balagul Allah bekamalehi kashatul tujar bejamalehi. Hasanat
Jamilu Risalehi Sallu Alayhi wa alihi. Balagul Allah bekamalehi.
He reached the highest point of ascent with the excellent qualities which he had. His ascent was not disproportionate or unrelated to his personal qualities. That is to say, he deserved that height to which he attained. which he attained. And secondly, Balagh al-Ula bi kamalihi kashaf ad-duja bi jamalihi. He opened or let's say, he broke apart the darkness with his beautiful face, with his beauty. And there again, it is directly because of the beauty of Huzur Akram Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that the spell of darkness was destroyed and broken. Balagh al-Ula bi kamalihi kashaf ad-duja bi jamalihi hasunat jami'u khisalihi. It says they are just two illustrations. But to cut the long story short, hasunat jami'u khisalihi. All the attributes and qualities of my beloved Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was most beautiful. Sallu alayhi wa alayhi. The result is, the upshot of the whole thing is, Sallu alayhi wa alayhi. Pray for him, send durood upon him and his all. Yes, please. Brother Taha Fazal.
There is one number for Messenger of Islam in Tazkar, and this is in Arabic, and you can read it two ways, warkil or warakala warakal. I cannot understand what the meaning of warkil, but warakala warakal, I know some meaning.
I have to search the Tazkara originally. If you remember in which edition, on which page this is found, I'll explain after studying. Do you remember?
I don't remember which page.
Give me this in writing.
Yeah.
So I'll ask somebody to find out where it is, and then we'll go through it.
But there is a warakala waraka. It means like you push with your foot, like for something, and raka you take rest after. This the another reading, warakala waraka. But working, I don't know.
I'll find out.
Okay, I read
Yes, please.
When we are talking about Amal-e-Saleh, sometimes we are stuck, we don't know which are the right things at the appropriate time. For instance, if we want to do some service for our dearest ones at times, but we are really stuck, we don't know whether it would please our dearest ones or not.
Also, it's no problem at all. In Islam, every situation has been described, and the answers to problems are given by Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself. So there is nothing one can conceive for which we already have not an answer by Hazrat Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself. For such a situation, he says, whatever you judge and weigh the matter in your mind and decide according to your own inclination. Whatever is slightly irritating and slightly jarring to your conscience, leave that and prefer that which is comparatively better for the slightly different reason. But if they are equally poised, both these problems, then you can do anything. Either of the two would be all right for you. Because Allah is not going to punish anyone beyond his capacity. If somebody is deciding an issue honestly, that is the most important thing. That honesty is taqwa. If you do something with taqwa in your intentions, then you are completely on safe ground. You have nothing to worry about. Yes, Dr. Mujibul Haq?
My question relates slightly to my question as well. In the Quran about honey, it is said, Fihi shifa'un lin-nas.
Yes.
Does it explain anywhere else what kind of illnesses are cured by honey?
Well, this verse is a very interesting verse. In the context, in the entire context, this primarily